On today's programme, we will be looking at mental health and how to cope. We have had hundreds of letters from people suffering with anxiety and describing how it feels.
This is from Andy, who says, "It's like that feeling when you are rocking on the back legs of a chair and suddenly you think you're about to fall. It's like standing on the top of a cliff and you suddenly feel like you're about to step off. Butterflies in your stomach, sweating and shaking. You can't breathe properly. Your heart beats so fast and you can't control it. Fear of everything. Is my fear real or an imaginary fear?"
Well, the human brain is hardwired to feel fear when confronted with danger. So this is normal, and the reactions, rapid heartbeat, butterflies in your stomach, all that, is the brain telling us to be afraid. In the days when we were hunter-gatherers and we came across a hungry lion, for example, the rush of adrenaline helped us out. We had to decide fight or flight, stand our ground or run away.
Why would you stand your ground when confronted with a lion?
Well, you might be defending your home, your child, your food. So if you were strong and had a weapon, you might decide that you had something worth defending. If not, it would be sensible to run away and hide.
But he has anxiety and there aren't any lions around. So why is he anxious?
Well, because the human brain has developed. We're now capable of imagination and thoughts that create situations before they happen, which is great in one way because we're no longer just hunter-gatherers. We are complex beings who are extremely socialised and artistic.
So his anxieties are not real?
No, well, they seem real to him at the time, but no, they aren't real. They are imagined.
Jade wrote to us describing her anxieties. "In social situations, I think everyone is judging me. They're going to laugh at me. I'm convinced that I will embarrass myself. I feel like everyone is waiting for me to cock things up. I'm worried that I might say the wrong thing, I might stutter or trip over my words. Everyone is looking at me. I know it's not logical, so why do I feel like this?"
Well, psychology a few years ago used to try and focus on the cause of anxiety, but it wasn't very helpful in terms of treatment. So people might have fears based on things that have actually happened. For example, you might have a fear of dogs because you were attacked once by a dog when you were little, and you still feel the fear of that day, obviously. But then a lot of other people's fears are not based on events. And even if they are, it doesn't really help with their lives now.
So what should she do now?
The first step is to want to overcome the fear. She said she was fed up with not being able to do the things other people can do. She wants to go out and she wants to be able to talk in public and socialise. So I asked if this was true, or if it was easier to say, "I have anxiety, I can't cope, feel sorry for me."
But nobody wants people to feel sorry for them, do they?
Sometimes it's easier to avoid your fears than confront them. You have to decide if what you have is worth defending. Like with the lion, she had to decide what she wanted.
What did she want?
She said this: "I want to have a full and successful life, have friends, enjoy life. That's worth defending, fighting for." It is. Like the human defending their home and child from the lion. She asked, "Am I strong enough? I may need some help."
Well, of course, she will need help, but she mustn't be afraid to ask. And also, she mustn't be afraid to start the journey. It's just that when you go on a journey, you need to arm yourself with the tools that will help you on that journey. So, right, example here. You don't climb a mountain in a pair of flip-flops wearing a swimsuit. All right? You're going to wear walking boots to protect your feet. You're going to take water so you don't dehydrate. You're going to take a raincoat in case it rains or it gets really, really cold. And what would really help is if you went with someone who knew the way. So someone who allows you to rest when you need to, encourages you when you feel like giving up, and most importantly, to hold your hand when things get a bit tough.
Toby has written about the same issue, but also said that he's just started college and he's found it difficult to make friends. So who can he talk to?
Well, this year, the safeguarding policy in schools and colleges includes the requirement to actively help students with mental health concerns. So, there'll be tutors in his college who can put him in touch with the right people. And actually, that is now their job. It's part of their job, so it's important. So talk to them, or if you can't talk, write it down, but somehow let them know. I had a really good example of a student last year who wrote this really, really good speech about why he thought wearing a school uniform was wrong. Right. Okay, so he wrote about how students should be able to express themselves and not feel they had to conform. And this was for a speaking and listening assignment, and the best ones were encouraged to perform in front of the rest of the year group. And he was absolutely petrified. And the other students were really shocked that this cocky guy, the joker of the class, who often seemed to want to be the centre of attention, was scared of performing. And when he told me how scared he was, I said, well, you've got a choice. You can back out and I can read it for you, or you can face your fear and give it a go.
What if people laugh at me? What if I get it wrong?
Well, if I do it for you, how would you feel?
Relieved.
But would you still be scared of speaking in public?
Yeah.
So what have you got to lose? So he did the speech, he stood up, he went bright red with embarrassment, and before he started, he said...
I'm absolutely terrified, but here goes.
So, and he did the speech, stumbled on his words, and it wasn't the best speech of the day by any standards, but the applause that the year group gave him after he finished was absolutely deafening. Yeah. You know, he was vulnerable, he admitted his fear, but he did it anyway, and he felt great afterwards because so many students were impressed with him, and not by his speech, but by his humility, his honesty, and his bravery. So believe it or not, whatever we think, that is what most people admire. Not show-offs and jokers, but authentic people who lead by example. So all these people that have written to us, I say good luck on your journey, and I can't wait to hear from them when they're done. And I'm going to give you some words now from Martin Luther King.
I have a dream.
Yeah. He did say other things. That was great, but he did say other things. Yeah. But the one I'm thinking of that's relevant is he said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step.
We've also had so many emails from people suffering with sadness and depression. Most of them are young students. What advice should we be giving to them?
Man up. Stop being so selfish. Get a grip, love. Just stop it. Stop it.
That's Sam.
They're not good things to say.
No, they're not. Now, you've got to realise it is normal to feel sad at times, and our moods can change for a number of reasons, especially if we're going through or experiencing a change in our circumstances. So loss of a loved one maybe, or failing in a task or an exam, sometimes just boredom or insecurity. And we can feel overwhelmed with these feelings, and we start to think that it's never going to end. Now, usually it does. But if these feelings last for a long time, for months maybe, or become so strong that we take no pleasure in anything, then that's when you really need to seek help. Don't diagnose yourself. This often happens because young people, you know, they listen to what other people are saying who don't know enough, or they find something online about their feelings. And if you start saying, well, I can't help it, I have depression, when there's something else is the cause, you know, that can be actually quite dangerous.
Quite often, low moods and lack of motivation can be because of a physical imbalance. You might have an underactive thyroid, a hormonal imbalance, vitamin deficiency, a poor diet, low blood sugar, all of which can be picked up with simple blood tests and treated relatively easily. And bingo, once you've got it sorted, you're back to feeling great again. But if these things go untreated, then you will only get worse.
Yeah, and I meant to say, you know, it's really important to get that medical advice first before you start taking on a diagnosis. Because this serious long-term depression is not something you want to label yourself with unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And it's not an illness that you can control by yourself, and it's a very dangerous state to be in.
I've got some stats here. For at least 1 in 4 people, depression and anxiety are part of their lives. So here's a little health check. Do you feel tense or anxious, even on the days that you don't have to go to work or college? Do you feel exhausted but still can't sleep? Do you ever wake up in the morning and wish that you hadn't? Do you feel desperately sad and frustrated without cause? If so, you need to tell someone. Why don't you tell someone?
We avoid seeking help because we're ashamed, scared, or so used to battling through the day that we just have no energy left.
Yeah, and then on top of that, how do you explain to someone that you're feeling desperately sad or suicidal even for no apparent reason? It sounds so self-indulgent, doesn't it, and selfish. And some people are going through really bad times, but they keep going and remain positive. And sometimes you just can't find the words to explain how you feel.
Michaela's emailed us with her story and describes how she used to feel. She says, "For me, it was like carrying really heavy weights on my arms and legs all the time. I had a very busy life and was physically fit and healthy, but I couldn't manage those weights. They wore me out. I was in pain and I was exhausted."
And if you've ever spent time with someone who is in constant pain, you'll notice how negative they are, how critical of others, and how easily they get upset or angry. And sometimes they do quite self-destructive things like, argue with their friends and alienate them and drink too much, do dangerous things and get involved in toxic relationships.
Yeah, that's exactly what Michaela was doing. She says, "I didn't like myself. I thought I didn't deserve success or happiness. So I raged against the world. Instead of trying to cure myself, I wanted to die rather than face it all. And one day I collapsed under the weights and said, I can't do this. Someone who loved me picked me up and took me to hospital. Then my recovery started."
Getting the help you need is not a quick and easy cure, but it makes these weights much easier to carry, and it builds your strength and it gives you coping strategies.
She goes on, "I am only still here today because of the help I received. It's important to me that I offer that help to others because I know how different I feel now. I have bad days occasionally, but I've not ever collapsed under the weight since. I am stronger, I'm a nicer person, and I'm really proud of what I have achieved."
Michaela's story gives us a bit of hope, but it's really sad that she didn't get help sooner. We'd like to look at how we can help each other and do that in a much better way. So imagine being shut in a dark room and you're sat on a chair. That chair is bolted to the floor. Your wrists and ankles are strapped to the chair. You would cry for help because you know people are on the other side of that door. You can hear them laughing and joking. So you try to shout out for help, but you're gagged and you can't form the words. You struggle to be free, but the hours pass and you get so tired of struggling, not making any progress. You give up. You feel that this is all there is, this endless darkness, pain and loss of hope. And in your head you can hear your thoughts saying, "Please someone, open the door." But no one does. So then you stop thinking about anything other than that you are helpless and useless and you long for oblivion. This is what people can feel like when they have a mental illness, particularly depression. And now if this is what it actually looked like, then we'd know how to help. Once we've opened the door and seen this, we can see your pain, we can remove the gag and we can untie you. We can help you to recover and lead you out of the door and into the laughing and joking people outside. But this is not what mental illness looks like. No matter how you're feeling, people can't always see it. You need to let someone know. The good news is that as a society, we have recently become more aware of how many people feel like this. The door is now open, the light is now on, and there are people and organisations that have removed the gag. We are going to talk about it. The bad news is no one can cure you straight away. You're going to have to do a lot of the work yourself. I know you are already exhausted trying to get through each day and more work seems impossible, but there is help. So, how can we help someone who feels like this?
Talk to me. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Well, how did you get into this state?
I don't know.
How can I help you?
I don't know.
Come outside with everyone else.
I can't.
Do you want to come outside?
I don't know.
Well, if you want to stay in here and sulk, there's nothing I can do. I give up. He's so attention-seeking. There's nothing really wrong. I mean, I know people who have really difficult lives and they don't just sit there in the dark moaning about it. He needs to get a grip, pull himself together, man up, count his blessings, appreciate what he's got.
And you wonder why people don't talk about their mental health. Now, this was an attitude of a lot of people years ago. Now, with all the information and research out there, we know this is an ignorant and useless attitude. So a better approach might be...
Come outside with everyone else.
I can't.
Do you want to come outside?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to untie your hands, so if you want to join us outside, you can. If you'd rather stay here, that's okay, but I will come back and check on you if I don't see you out there.
A little bit of help can save a life, literally. Some kind words, acceptance, patience, or even just telling someone that you're worried about someone else can make a big difference. You're not responsible for someone else's feelings. You're not a psychiatrist, but making someone feel safe or important takes the same amount of energy as putting someone down or ignoring them. You just have to decide which type of person you want to be. Maybe be a little bit braver, a little bit more observant, a little bit more caring, and all qualities that make you more likeable, more dependable, and actually even more employable.
You've all heard about how important it is to stay healthy. Eat the right food, do some exercise, don't smoke, don't drink alcohol, 6 glasses of water a day, 5 portions of fruit and veg, cutting out sugar, fizzy drinks, etc., etc. The list is endless. But when it comes to your mental health, there is very little straightforward information about what you should or shouldn't do. And there's a reason for this. We just don't know what works for everyone.
But what we do know is that the brain needs stimulation to keep it going, which you achieve through having conversations and debates and reacting with other people and completing tasks and focusing on your work or your studies. And we also know that the brain needs rest, so it needs sleep and relaxation. And your brain also needs feeding, so a good diet is quite important.
Exercise is a good way of giving your brain a boost. It doesn't have to work too hard while you are taking a fast walk or running, but those actions release chemicals in your brain that makes it stronger.
So once someone has offered help, like untying your hand from the chair, you need to do some work yourself. With your hands free, you can undo the other restraints. You can learn how to help yourself.
But help is needed. Carrying depression around on your own will result in some sort of crisis point, whether you ask for help or you collapse with the strain of it. So try the asking. Have a little faith in other people. Most people are okay and like to see happy people around us. We want you to be well and enjoy your life.